Disclaimer! This video's purpose is for educational and informational purposes only. Obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD. You've probably heard someone say, "I'm so OCD," because they like their desk neat or their apps in color order. Cute? Maybe. Accurate? Not even close. Obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, isn't about liking things clean. It's about needing things to feel right, or else your brain screams like a fire alarm no one else hears. It starts with obsessions, unwanted, intrusive thoughts that barge in like a bad roommate. What if I forgot to lock the door and now everyone's dead? No logic, just fear on loop. To shut it up, people perform compulsions, repetitive actions or rituals. Locking the door once doesn't cut it. You check it 10 times, or you wash your hands till they're raw. Not for fun, not for neatness, but to quiet the noise. The worst part? People with OCD usually know the thoughts don't make sense, but their brain doesn't care. It trades peace for repetition and calls it a deal. It's not about being picky or organized, it's a disorder that hijacks your thoughts and holds them hostage. Bipolar disorder. One day, you're on top of the world, cleaning your house at 2 a.m., starting a new business, texting everyone you've ever met. A week later, you can't get out of bed, your phone's on Do Not Disturb, and brushing your teeth feels like climbing Everest. Welcome to bipolar disorder. Not mood swings, not just being dramatic, but a real, serious condition people still misunderstand constantly. Bipolar isn't just feeling happy one moment and sad the next. It's about extreme highs and lows. The highs are called mania or hypomania if it's less intense. Think racing thoughts, zero sleep, risky decisions, and a brain stuck on fast forward. The lows? Depression that can flatten motivation, energy, and self-worth. People often only notice the manic part and say things like, "Wow, you're so energetic," or mistake it for confidence. They miss the crash that follows. And no, you can't snap out of it. This isn't a mood light switch. It's a cycle. It's also not predictable. A person with bipolar disorder can go weeks, even months without symptoms. But when the wave hits, it hits hard. And the only thing that I would wish for you to hit hard is that subscribe button so you don't miss the hard waves of amazing content. Schizophrenia. Schizophrenia isn't split personalities. Let's just get that out of the way fast. It's not Dr. Jekyll flipping into Mr. Hyde or someone arguing with a toaster because their other personality told them to. That's a Hollywood remix. What schizophrenia actually does is scramble how the brain processes reality. Imagine trying to watch 5 TV channels at once, all with different plots, and your brain insisting they're all real. That's closer. People might hear voices, see things others don't, or believe stuff that makes no sense to everyone else. But to them, it's as real as gravity. It also messes with thinking and speech. Someone with schizophrenia might jump from topic to topic or talk in a way that seems confusing. Not because they're crazy, but because their brain's connections are firing in the wrong order. It can hit anyone, usually in late teens or early adulthood. And it's not just all in the head. There are physical changes in the brain. The worst part, though, is the stigma. Most people think it means dangerous, when really it means deeply misunderstood. People with schizophrenia are far more likely to be hurt than to hurt anyone. Borderline personality disorder, BPD. Imagine living with a brain that feels everything at full volume. Like someone broke the dimmer switch and now it's just emotional high beams all day, every day. That's what borderline personality disorder, BPD, feels like. People often mistake BPD for being manipulative, dramatic, or unstable. In reality, it's a struggle with emotional regulation. Emotions hit hard, change fast, and linger like a bad Wi-Fi signal. Unpredictable and frustrating. One of the biggest challenges they face is the fear of abandonment. Even small signals, like a delayed text or a change in tone, can feel like someone's walking out forever. And that fear can trigger reactions that confuse others but make perfect sense in the heat of the moment. Relationships can feel like tug-of-war matches. Extreme closeness one moment, intense fear and anger the next. It's not about control, it's about desperation to keep from being left behind. People with BPD often feel deep shame after emotional outbursts. They're not unaware, they're overwhelmed, and they're usually more self-critical than anyone around them. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, ADHD. Back in school, the kid with ADHD was always the hyper one. Couldn't sit still, forgot their pencil, maybe climbed a bookshelf once, so people slapped on the label distracted, disruptive, probably just needs to try harder. But ADHD isn't about fidgeting or being distracted. It's a neurodevelopmental disorder, which is a fancy way of saying the brain's wiring runs a bit differently. It affects focus, impulse control, memory, and even motivation. Not because someone's lazy, the brain just has a hard time prioritizing what to pay attention to and when. Now there's the inattentiveness, which involves zoning out, forgetfulness, and losing things all the time like it's a hobby. Other people get the hyperactive impulse, which means they're always moving, blurting things out, tapping everything. Finally, some people get the combined ADHD, aka the greatest hits of both. And no, you don't grow out of it. Adults get ADHD too. They just mask it with coffee, phone alarms, and a deep collection of missed deadlines. Trust me, I speak from experience. Dissociative Identity Disorder, DID. DID is one of the most misunderstood mental health conditions out there, mostly thanks to movies where someone suddenly becomes a different person with a creepy smile. Spoiler, that's not what's happening. Here's the reality. DID is a coping mechanism, not a superpower. It typically starts with severe trauma, like abuse or neglect during childhood. When a person's mind can't handle the pain, it splits. Instead of one identity carrying all the trauma, the brain creates separate alters to hold different parts of the experience. Each alter has its own thoughts, behaviors, and feelings. It's not like one person magically switching personalities like a party trick. These identities often don't know about each other, and the person with DID may experience blackouts or memory gaps. DID doesn't make you evil or dangerous, it's about survival. The brain is trying to protect the person from overwhelming pain by compartmentalizing it. Autism Spectrum Disorder, ASD. Before you start imagining a person with autism spectrum disorder, ASD, as someone who avoids eye contact and spends hours lining up toys, let's clear up some myths. ASD isn't just about being socially awkward or having a special talent. It's a whole different way of processing the world, like seeing everything through a lens that others don't. For some with autism, socializing can be tough. Reading facial expressions, understanding jokes, or making small talk doesn't come naturally. It's not because they don't want to, it's just that their brain processes social interactions differently. Imagine if someone handed you a manual for a new language but forgot to explain the rules. That's often how social situations feel. Then there's the sensory overload. While most people barely notice the humming of a fluorescent light or the sound of a dog barking, someone with ASD might hear, feel, and see every little thing like it's cranked up to max volume. It's like being stuck in a room where the volume's always on the highest. Social Anxiety Disorder. Imagine being at a party, and while everyone else seems to be having fun, you're overthinking every word you say, every gesture, and every step you take. It's not just about nerves, it's fear, and that's what social anxiety disorder, SAD, is. It's way more than just being shy or uncomfortable in crowds. It's like your brain gets stuck on a constant loop of, everyone is judging me, even if that's not happening. It's that overwhelming feeling that you're being watched, criticized, or laughed at no matter how many times you check if anyone's actually paying attention. It's not about wanting to be left alone, it's more like feeling trapped by your own worries. People with SAD might avoid talking to strangers, skip events, or even feel uneasy about making eye contact. It can make day-to-day life harder than it looks. This isn't something you can just get over with a pep talk because social anxiety can shut down entire parts of life. It's a real mental health condition that requires understanding and support. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. You've probably heard of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, but it's not just about being stressed after a bad experience. Imagine going through something traumatic and then not being able to escape it ever. That's what PTSD feels like. It's like your brain gets stuck, constantly replaying the worst parts of what happened even when you're not experiencing it. For someone with PTSD, ordinary things like a loud noise or a certain smell can send them right back to the moment of the trauma. It's not just remembering, it's like living through it all over again. Flashbacks, nightmares, or emotional breakdowns can happen out of nowhere, making everyday life a lot harder. And no, PTSD isn't just for people who've been to war. It can affect someone who's been through something truly traumatic, like an accident, assault, or a major loss. Depression. You can't just cheer up out of depression. That's like telling someone with a broken leg to jog it off. It also isn't always crying on the floor or dramatic movie scenes with sad piano music. Sometimes it's brushing your teeth feeling like a marathon, or lying in bed staring at the ceiling like your soul is buffering. The problem, though, is that people often confuse depression with being sad. But sadness has a reason. Breakups, bad days, burned jollof rice. Depression shows up uninvited, sometimes for no reason at all, and overstays like a guest who eats all your snacks and won't leave. It messes with your sleep, drains your energy, and makes everyday things feel heavy. Not I'm lazy heavy, more like my brain forgot how to function heavy. Imagine your brain as a radio. With depression, someone turned the volume way down, then snapped the knob off. The world's still playing, but you can't quite hear it, and sometimes you don't even care to. The worst part? It's invisible, so there's no way to even know. And no, telling someone to just think positive won't fix it. That's like yelling at a plant to grow faster. Depression is a real medical condition. It's not a weakness, it's not attention-seeking, it's a glitch in how the brain handles mood, motivation, and stress. Selective mutism. You ever get so nervous you forget your own name? Like someone asks you a simple question and your brain just clocks out? Now imagine that, but all the time. And not because you're shy or rude, but because your brain won't let you talk. That's what selective mutism feels like. It's a real anxiety disorder where a person who can talk in places they're comfortable, like home, suddenly can't say a word in certain settings, like school or public places. Not won't, can't. Their voice just shuts down like someone hit the mute button inside their head. People misunderstand it a lot. They think the person is being stubborn, dramatic, or just needs to try harder. But it's not about effort, it's about fear. Big, overwhelming fear that makes speech feel impossible. And the worst part? The more you pressure them to talk, the harder it gets. Selective mutism usually starts in childhood, but it's not just a phase. It needs support, not scolding. With the right help, like therapy and patience, people can find their voice again. Trichotillomania, hair pulling disorder. Have you ever caught yourself playing with your hair when you're stressed, twisting, tugging, maybe even pulling one out? Now imagine you can't stop. That's what life is like with trichotillomania, a mental health condition where people feel a strong urge to pull out their own hair. It's not for attention, it's not a phase, and it's definitely not something people can just snap out of. The urge builds like pressure in a soda bottle. Pulling releases it for a moment, then comes the guilt, the hiding, the hats. People pull from their scalp, eyebrows, eyelashes, anywhere hair grows. Some don't even notice they're doing it until they see the damage. Others are fully aware but feel powerless to stop. It's often linked to anxiety, stress, or even boredom. Basically, the brain is throwing a tantrum and the hands are just trying to cope. Hoarding disorder. You ever try throwing something out and suddenly think, wait, what if I need this later? Now imagine that feeling but turned all the way up, and it's happening with everything you have and own. That's what living with hoarding disorder feels like. It's not about being dirty, lazy, or a collector gone wild. It's a mental health condition, and it's way more complicated than people think. Hoarding happens when your brain struggles to let go. Even broken or useless items feel important, like tossing them out would be losing a piece of your life. So, stuff piles up, not because someone doesn't care, but because they care too much. To outsiders, it looks like a mess. To the person with hoarding disorder, it feels like safety. That old receipt? Proof of a memory. That stack of containers? One day they might actually be useful. And every item feels like a decision with emotional weight. The hardest part about this condition is that people often hide it because of shame. Hoarding disorder isn't a quirk, it's a condition that needs support, patience, and real understanding.
Nope.
It's not about the clutter, it's about what's going on underneath it. Somatic symptom disorder. You ever feel really sick, but every test comes back clean till eventually people start acting like it's all in your head? That's exactly what happens if you have somatic symptom disorder. It's a real mental health condition, but it gets treated like a ghost story with a hospital gown. Here's how it works. Your body feels pain, fatigue, or weird symptoms that won't quit, and no one can find a clear medical reason. But the symptoms you feel are definitely real. You're not faking. You're not dramatic. Your brain's just playing doctor and writing the wrong prescriptions. It's like your brain hit the catastrophe button and forgot to unpress it. The stress or trauma you didn't even know was still lingering? It's throwing a surprise party in your nervous system. People with SSD often get brushed off. Doctors shrug, friends say, "Oh, maybe it's just anxiety." Meanwhile, you're Googling symptoms and planning your funeral. The truth? It's a mental disorder with physical symptoms. Your brain is so powerful, it can make your body scream even when nothing's broken. Eating disorders. You've probably heard of eating disorders, but you might not know they're more than just about food. It's not about wanting to be thin, it's about controlling something, anything, when everything else feels out of control. It's a mental health issue dressed up as a food problem. Imagine your brain is a hyperactive chef always scrambling to keep the recipe perfect. But instead of working with ingredients, it's focusing on your weight, what you eat, and how much you can control that. You look in the mirror and your brain says, "You're not good enough." It's not that your brain sees your body differently, it's that your brain won't stop nitpicking it no matter how much you try to tune it out. People with eating disorders often feel trapped in this cycle of self-criticism and distorted thinking. The food? It's just the symptom. The real problem is the mental tug-of-war happening beneath the surface. You might see someone eat a salad and think, "That's healthy," but for someone with an eating disorder, that salad could feel like a battlefield.